Mama G. Chapter 1. You can always tell when somebody is up to no good. At least that's what my mama told me. And hell, for the most part, she's always been accurate, especially about that part. You see, the thing is, you just gotta study the people you come across. Not only will you be surprised, you'll be wise. That's another thing she used to say. I never really understood it until I did. Anyway, I grew up in the South Side Manors. That's the worst projects in all of Landmore. The only other city with the worst rep was Chicago, which happened to be an hour away. In fact, many traveling folks usually found themselves in Landmore. It must have been a calling for most, and others just found their way by luck, I guess. Either way, most people in the town of Landmore were strong-minded and high-spirited. Needless to say, there were people with a fighting spirit, which brings me to the main reason for this story, Mama G, born Janisha Lee Ann Caldwell. My mother was the definition of Landmore. She was raised on the Landmore ways, rituals, and beliefs. She never started trouble, and she never backed down from any. My father was killed when I was 3, so I pretty much never knew him. Although I grew up with pictures of him all around the house, pictures of him holding me, pictures of him with Mama G, Pokemon, and Sugar. Those are my siblings. We used to get along just fine once upon a time. Well, anyways, Pokey, man, that's my brother. He somehow grew up to despise working, so instead, he robbed people for a living. Which is another story. Then there's Sugar. That's my sister. We're close, but we used to be closer. I'll get to that. Anyway, Mama G is responsible for the collage of things that this story is going to tell. Well, as for me, my name is Shay. Mama G used to call me Butter. It was one of her nicknames for me. It was actually my favorite. Well, recently, Mama G passed away, and I found something she may or may not have wanted me to know. I found her diary. At first, I wasn't going to read it, but then I figured it would be a way of understanding her better. For some reason or another, I waited to even open it. And then one night about a week ago, I became probing. I opened the first page, which told me a lot already. Mama G knew how to keep a secret, and there were surely things in her diary waiting to prove it. Page 1. The Diary of Mama G. The night was June 16th, 2016. I was coming from up the hill and headed down to the dirty. Something told me there was a car following me. I waited half a minute before I parked. I circled the block 2 times, and then I honked for King to come down the stairs. After watching the door for a bit, I noticed he wasn't coming. That didn't sit well with me. I knew King to be prompt and swift. Every time we dealt with one another, we had a good chat, but our main concern was business. King had a good flow about himself. He wasn't the over-chatty type. I never heard about him double-talking anybody. I flashed the lights 2 times before the door opened, allowing me to see his wide frame coming out. It was Throwback Thursday. LL Cool J's Doing It Well was on the radio as he approached. He got in with a wide grin. Gee, what's up, baby? He always said his words with congestion, but he meant them with love. I looked at that crooked smile with 4 gold teeth, and I laughed innocently. Same old King, business. He tilted his head towards me and handed me a small bag with 2 all-white bricks of cocaine. I went in my bra, lifted my titty, and pulled out 15 grand. I then handed it to him. He reached for the money as he told me something. Yo, it's 2 bricks in that bag. I need you to run that other one for me. We'll break even down the middle. Cool? I looked at him as I understood the favor asked. Cool. As I got out of the car and stepped into the street, I felt a single drop of rain. Next, I noticed a nigga walking towards the car. I quickly turned around to see 2 more niggas approaching us. I dropped the bag and reached for my gun, but it was already too late. The car was rolling to a slow stop as a loud horn sounded from King's slumped body. Shell casing surrounded me as I tuned in to the sound of multiple gunshots. I too myself was hit. I fell slowly as I turned to the side to see a man named Buggy grabbing the bag with the dope. It turns out that King had problems with Buggy and his crew the day before, and the only other way Buggy and his boys wanted to settle it was the dumb way. I breathed in and out slowly as I wanted to control my breathing. I heard the thumping of my body when it slammed to the ground. It was a hollow sound inside of my head. It was as if I didn't weigh anything. I remembered the look on Buggy's face when he noticed it was me that he had shot. Even I knew he didn't know who he had shot. After all, I was wearing a hoodie. It had the Washington Redskins on it. I didn't know shit about the team. I just liked it. I bought it off a booster. Anyway, as blood leaked from my side, I lied there wondering if I was going to die. I heard voices in the background, but I'll never forget when someone yelled, "They killed King, and they shot Mama G." It was Juju Childs from the third floor. For some reason or another, he always nicknamed someone. That day I gained a nickname. I mean, I was used to people calling me Mama or G, but never the two together. I had been shot by a Glock 19 up close. King lost his life and I gained an enemy. Well, at least I knew that much. Buggy ended up moving somewhere down south for a while. Guess he was too scared to find out. His name never touched any paperwork, but everybody knew what he did. Him and his up to no good misfits. Buggy had no idea who he was truly robbing. King worked for the Coriano cartel. A reputation had been well established with their name. Needless to say, anybody who touched their product was a green light. As I healed from the hospital bed to my bed, the word had found the Corianos. Felipe Coriano had a temper that took no breaks. He received the word that Buggy, Polo, and Chubbs were the ones to drop King. Felipe and King were boys for real. King was a heavy earner for the Corianos. Felipe was hitting King with 20 bricks at a time. All King had to do was keep it coming. He kept up with Felipe on the regular. When the news about Buggy fleeing town landed his way, Felipe had already put the green light on each of them. It wasn't a full 24 hours before the word got back to the Corianos about Polo and Chubb's whereabouts. Within a few days, Polo and Chubbs were both found dead. Nothing had been taken from either one of them, as they both passed with cash and drugs on their personal. The message was clear. I'm sure Buggy got the message. He didn't return for quite some time. The news gave the spill from the worst angle possible. Paul Polo had her 19 and Norvin Chubbs Brownlow 20 found shot dead. Both gunshot victims were shot several times in the face. Victims of gang violence, they said. Well deserved. That's the only thing I would say about that. The fact was Polo, Buggy, and Chubbs had been robbing shit for a long time. This was the second time they just so happened to do something they couldn't fix. I healed a lot quicker than I thought I would. My relationship with the Corianos gave me favor as well. I talked to Sanjay Coriano and asked her to pass the word to Felipe about what happened. He knew what I was getting at. I don't think it took him long to read my angle. The best way of proving this was making the move on Chubbs at his girlfriend's house at 2 a.m. It was easy work. He thought I was a dope fiend looking to buy a bag. Dumbass nigga. They just killed King 2 weeks ago and shot me. Now here he was in the projects trying to sell my dope and taking out trash when he supposed to be laying low. He did all of this without a weapon on his person. Well, anyway, I doubt the nigga was the brains behind the bullshit. 2 to the dome, and he got what he needed. Then there was Polo. He was just as goofy. He had the nerve to share his location with Chubbs. Too bad Buggy wasn't included. He was a little smarter than Dumb and Dumber, which was the only reason he's still alive right now. Polo was walking out of his little hideout in the Paraguay condos. He thought that hiding at his white girlfriend's place outside of Landmore would camouflage his black ass. I texted him on Chubb's phone that I took and told him that I needed to holler. I told him don't call me and that I was on my way to see him. I watched as he waited for Chubbs to arrive. I watched him as he watched out of the kitchen window and what had to be a side bedroom window. I wanted to get to him before he somehow got the word about Chubbs. Time was winding down and someone was sure to find the body by the trash. I left him with his own kind. Polo was different as his paranoia led him the whole time. He had to be sniffing some of that coke, the way he was bouncing from window to window within seconds. It didn't surprise me. A lot of killers had habits to feed. Tricking Polo out of the house came with some patience and a good lie. I ended up texting him and telling him that I needed to pull up on me. I convinced him that I had a better lick for us to hit and I needed to be picked up by Bushmills Park. I told him, pull up to the back side. He texted back on my way, and I waited up the hill where I could see everything. About 25, probably 30 minutes maximum. He pulled into the dead end. He cut his lights off and sat facing the dead end. He looked paranoid but excited, if that makes any sense. Anyway, he watched the woods and flashed the lights for Chubbs to come out. After doing so 3 times, he opened the car door and stepped out. He slowly called out to his boy, Chubbs?
Yo, this your Mindzzz. This the author of Mama G. If you like what you just heard, like, subscribe, and comment more.